The landscape of modern pop culture is a vast and shifting ocean where fame is often measured in millions of views, standard chart positions, and highly calculated public relations campaigns. Yet, beneath the glittering surface of mainstream celebrity lies a completely different kind of cultural currency, one that is not traded in blockbuster box office numbers but in whispers, shared glances, and inside jokes that echo across specific corners of the internet. For decades, the global LGBTQ+ community has possessed a unique, almost supernatural ability to take seemingly random, ordinary, or even outright bizarre moments from media and elevate them into legendary status. This process of creating icons is rarely intentional. It does not happen because a marketing team sat in a boardroom and decided to target a demographic. Instead, it happens organically, born from a collective sense of humor, a shared appreciation for the absurd, and an innate understanding of height camp. It is a subcultural phenomenon where the overlooked, the strange, the melodramatic, and the campy are rescued from obscurity and given an entirely new lease on life. As we navigate the digital terrain of 2026, this tradition is not only alive and well, but it is actually accelerated, fueled by viral algorithms and a deep, community-wide nostalgia for the specific types of media that shaped a generation. To truly understand this, one must look beyond the standard household name symbols of pride that headline major festivals and instead look toward the low-key, under-the-radar icons whose legendary status is fiercely guarded by those in the know. If you are enjoying this deep dive into the hidden history of modern internet culture and want to stay updated on more fascinating stories that celebrate the community, please consider hitting the subscribe button to join us for future chapters. To understand the origins of this unique cultural mechanism, we have to look at how marginalized groups have historically interacted with media. Long before there was mainstream representation or open celebrations of diversity on television, audiences had to find themselves in the margins, reading between the lines of movies, music videos, and video games to find something that resonated with their own experiences of feeling different or dramatic. This developed into a highly sophisticated form of cultural curation, where a single facial expression, an absurdly mismatched outfit, or an overly intense performance could become a symbol of shared identity. Today, even as representation has grown by leaps and bounds, that love for the low-key and the wonderfully bizarre has never faded. It is the reason why a random character from a poorly optimized 90s video game can hold just as much emotional weight as an A-list movie star, and why a bizarre viral event in a rainy Scottish city can instantly unite people across the globe in a wave of collective hilarity. The beauty of these icons lies in their absolute exclusivity. They function as a sort of secret handshake, a way for people to recognize a shared sensibility without needing to explain the joke to the rest of the world. As the internet grows more homogenized, these niche symbols of adoration become even more precious, serving as a reminder that the best parts of culture are often the ones that cannot be easily explained to an outsider. As we prepare to unveil this updated look at the underground pantheon of modern culture, we must first set the stage by revisiting the moments that made us stop, stare, and laugh in absolute unison. Think back to the strange artifacts of the early 2000s, an era defined by chaotic red carpets, layered tank tops, and a complete lack of stylistic restraint that somehow feels incredibly comforting today. Or consider the world of early three-dimensional gaming, where blocky polygons and pixelated textures somehow managed to convey an unforgettable sense of dramatic flair and survivalist grit. Even the mundane routines of everyday life, from the way someone describes their evening routine to the performative way a celebrity organizes their kitchen counters, are fair game for this unique process of cultural elevation. Each of these moments carries a specific energy, a blend of earnestness and accidental comedy that makes them irresistible to a community that has always found joy in the theatrical. Over the course of this report, we will journey through these distinct vignettes of internet history, exploring the strange backstories, the forgotten heroes, and the viral sensations that have defined our collective sense of humor. We will look at the viral sensations that took over our screens when we least expected it, and the classic figures who have quietly maintained their status for decades. The stage is set, the atmosphere is heavy with anticipation, and the curtain is about to rise on a definitive countdown of the low-key icons who define the cultural landscape, proving that sometimes the most enduring legends are the ones that were never meant to be famous at all. The journey into the heart of this hidden cultural pantheon begins with a look at the sheer diversity of these low-key legends, each representing a different flavor of the absurd, the nostalgic, and the intensely dramatic. To truly appreciate the scale of this phenomenon, we must look at one of the most unexpected viral sensations of recent years. An event that began as a disastrous marketing failure in a rainy warehouse in Scotland but quickly mutated into a piece of internet folklore. When families paid for a grand, immersive Willy Wonka experience in Glasgow, they were greeted not with a magical chocolate factory, but with a desolate room, a few sparse decorations, and a terrifying, non-canonical character known simply as the Unknown. This masked, silver-faced entity, played by an actor who was just trying to survive an incredibly awkward gig, captured the global imagination. The community immediately adopted the Unknown, recognizing the profound camp value of an existential villain lurking behind a mirror in a failed children's attraction. It is a perfect example of how the community can take absolute chaos and disappointment and transform it into a celebrated symbol of shared hilarity. From that dark warehouse in Glasgow, we pivot back in time to the golden era of 90s video games, specifically to the pixelated halls of the classic GoldenEye 007 game on the Nintendo 64. Here we find Natalia Simonova, a Russian computer programmer whose digital incarnation became a source of intense frustration and eventual adoration for millions of players. Natalia was notorious for her lack of self-preservation instincts, constantly walking directly into enemy gunfire or standing right in front of exploding monitors while players desperately tried to protect her. Her stubborn, unbothered attitude in the face of absolute danger, combined with her blocky, low-polygon design, elevated her to an enduring symbol of chaotic, high-stakes survival that resonates deeply with an audience that appreciates a dramatic undercurrent. The digital landscape of the 2020s has provided an even faster pipeline for these niche icons, often elevating ordinary people through the power of a single viral video. Consider the meteoric rise of Ariana Hubbard on TikTok, whose visceral, unforgettable reaction of sheer disgust immortalized in the internet lexicon as the vocalized phrase IYYUCCCK became an instant universal reaction meme. It is the kind of raw, unfiltered emotion that the community loves to weaponize in everyday conversations, a perfect sonic expression of rejecting the mundane or the offensive with absolute theatrical flair. This love for the dramatic also extends to a broader cultural archetype, specifically the phenomenon of the middle-aged woman who loves talking passionately about drinking wine. This is not just about a beverage, it is about an entire lifestyle of unbothered, slightly chaotic relaxation, an embrace of domestic melodrama that has been warmly adopted as a comforting, campy symbol of adult survival. In a similar vein of constructed performance, comedian Megan Stalter captured lightning in a bottle with her viral presentation of a deeply insecure, overconfident butter character who walks into a room with a passive-aggressive, overly enthusiastic greeting of "Hey gay." This performance perfectly satirized corporate pandering and performative allyship, turning a ridiculous piece of character acting into a beloved, heavily quoted piece of modern folklore. As we look at more traditional celebrities, we see how specific style choices can completely reframe how an actor is perceived by the community. Jonathan Bailey, already a celebrated talent, achieved an entirely new tier of low-key icon status through his public appearances wearing what the internet affectionately dubbed his slutty little glasses. It was a masterclass in how a simple accessory combined with an undeniable sense of confidence and charm can create a specific, heavily celebrated aesthetic energy that goes completely viral within the community. Contrast this with the absolute deadpan comedy of Dakota Johnson and her infamous kitchen tour where she proudly displayed a massive bowl of performative limes, claiming an intense, lifelong love for the green fruit. The internet was later delighted to discover that she was actually allergic to limes and had completely fabricated the story for the cameras, an act of chaotic, meaningless deception that was instantly hailed as a supreme piece of performance art. This appreciation for a specific, understated masculine energy also applies to any straight guy who possesses what can only be described as an elegance to his heterosexuality. It is a rare, highly specific quality where a man navigates the world with a sense of grace, style, and fluid confidence that completely transcends traditional, rigid gender expectations. Earning quiet respect and admiration from an audience that values aesthetic harmony, the world of animation and classic television also holds a treasure trove of these underground symbols. Take Lois Griffin from the long-running animated series Family Guy. While the show itself is mainstream, a very specific internet subculture has become obsessed with a single, dramatic frame of Lois looking longingly at a bottle of prescription pills. That image, stripped of its original context, became a massive meme representing the exhaustion, drama, and coping mechanisms of modern existence, transforming a cartoon housewife into a symbol of relatable, high-camp despair. In the realm of reality television, the legacy of RuPaul's Drag Race is filled with legendary figures, but few hold a place quite like Nicole Paige Brooks, hailing proudly from Atlanta, Georgia. Emerging from the show's early, gritty seasons, her raw authenticity, unforgettable name delivery, and unpolished charm cemented her as a permanent fixture in the hearts of long-term fans who prefer old-school drag grit over polished modern perfection. Finally, no retrospective of low-key icons would be complete without a trip down memory lane to the mid-2000s, specifically focusing on Ashley Tisdale and her legendary appearances on Hollywood red carpets between 2004 and 2006. This was an era of unprecedented fashion chaos characterized by wearing skirts over jeans, carrying multiple sequined purses, and sporting graphic tees with absolute unshakable confidence. Ashley Tisdale was the undisputed queen of this stylistic anarchy, and looking back at those photos today invokes a powerful mix of nostalgia and reverence for a time when fashion was experimental, deeply chaotic, and entirely unafraid of being too much. The final chapter of this exploration into the underground pantheon of low-key cultural icons brings us to the mysterious, the chaotic, and the deeply loyal realms of media history. To fully understand how these moments solidify into permanent legends, we must examine the strange case of the person in the Halloween mask who delivers the classic startled line, "What was that?" This brief, isolated moment from a horror-themed clip became an absolute sensation across digital platforms, serving as the ultimate reaction for anyone experiencing sudden confusion, mild panic, or unexpected drama in their daily lives. The absolute commitment to the line, delivered from behind a cheap plastic mask, captures the exact blend of theatricality and vulnerability that the community values above all else. It is a reminder that you do not need a multi-million-dollar budget to create something unforgettable sometimes. All it takes is a completely absurd context and a perfect vocal delivery to etch your name into the collective consciousness of the internet. This leads us directly to the queen of unconventional intimacy, Drew Barrymore, whose daytime talk show format has redefined how celebrities interact on camera. Drew has become a low-key legend specifically for her habit of interviewing her guests from an uncomfortably close physical distance, often kneeling on the floor, holding their hands, and gazing intensely into their eyes. While some might find this level of proximity jarring, the community has embraced it as a beautiful, high-camp display of radical empathy and earnestness, a refreshing antidote to the usually cold, rehearsed nature of Hollywood publicity tours. Moving from the talk show couch to the heights of musical royalty, we must talk about the legendary status granted to every single person who was formerly in the iconic pop group Destiny's Child. While the world frequently focuses on the massive global superstardom of its most famous leading member, the true connoisseurs of pop culture history hold a special, fiercely protective place in their hearts for the rotating roster of women who contributed to the group's journey along the way. Characters like LaToya Luckett, Latavia Roberson, and Farrah Franklin are treated with immense respect and humor, their short-lived tenures and dramatic exits viewed as foundational texts in the history of modern pop music. Celebrating these former members is a way for the community to honor the unsung heroes of pop culture, proving that your contribution does not have to last decades to leave a permanent mark on the cultural landscape. This deep appreciation for chaotic musical history is perfectly mirrored in one of the most legendary live television performances of all time, courtesy of pop singer Fergie on The Today Show. During a live outdoor broadcast while performing a cover of the classic rock anthem Barracuda, Fergie made the artistic choice to execute a series of high-energy, completely unprompted cartwheels and backflips across the stage while continuing to belt out the lyrics. It was a moment of pure, unfiltered performance energy, completely unbothered by traditional notions of restraint or vocal stability. The community immediately recognized this performance as a masterpiece of accidental genius, an iconoclastic display of confidence that remains a go-to reference point for celebrating anyone who decides to go absolutely all out against all logical odds. When we look back at all of these disparate figures and viral moments, a clear pattern begins to emerge that explains exactly why this subcultural phenomenon matters so much. These low-key icons are not just random jokes or fleeting internet trends. They are the building blocks of a unique shared language that allows people to connect on a deeper, more emotional level. In a world that often demands conformity and rewards standard, highly polished versions of success, celebrating the blocky pixels of Natalia Simonova, the chaotic fashion of mid-2000s Ashley Tisdale, or the existential dread of the unknown in Glasgow becomes an act of joyful defiance. It is a way of saying that we choose to find beauty, humor, and meaning in the places that mainstream society overlooks. These figures represent the journeys of outsiders who, either through accident, sheer determination, or hilarious misfortune, managed to capture something essential about the human experience. They remind us that life is inherently theatrical, full of unexpected twists, and best experienced with a healthy sense of humor and a deep appreciation for the absurd. As the digital landscape continues to evolve through 2026 and beyond, new names will undoubtedly be added to this hidden registry, while the classic figures will